And the big announcement came. The fun, if you can call it that, is all over with, right?
Oh, it's not over with. There's the next Powerball coming up.
Yeah. How long is it going to take to get to $1.5 billion, though?
But come on, we're going to be happy with $1 million, right?
2.5 months, I think.
It could take. We might not see anything like this for years. Does this ruin it for everybody, though? Oh, the jackpot is at $200 million, and people look at it and say, well, that's nothing. I only play when it gets to $1.5 billion. Here are the numbers that were released from last night. Actually, it raised to $1.6 billion before it was all said and done. There were 3 winners last night, none of them in New York. Here. All right, well, there you go. Did you win anything? Andrew's all excited. Not. He had 2 numbers,
got 2
right?
numbers,
Out
yeah.
of all of his. You know what I noticed, too, at the Comets game last night, the numbers, the jackpot was like $5,000, which is lower than normal.
Yeah.
And, why? Well, because everybody was out there putting money into the Powerball, I think.
Yeah. Plus, yeah.
Plus what? What's
Well,
the
I
other?
was going to say, it was Wednesday night game, so.
It is a Wednesday night game. It was a pretty decent house. I mean, they weren't sold out, but, I would think that all I know is how we felt. I went in, I'm going to get a raffle ticket, and my wife is like, you've bought enough tickets for one night. That's the end of it. So, maybe nobody else lives my life, but, it is what it is. Now, I got to tell you, when you look at the stage tonight, there's a Republican debate. What channel is it on tonight?
It's on Fox Business.
Fox Business has tonight. So there are 2 of them, and Rand Paul has decided if I can't be on the main stage, I'm not going to play. And, it's kind of an interesting approach because he ends up getting headlines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He ends up getting headlines that he might not have gotten had he actually been on the small stage. But I'm not sure that it is the right headline that he's looking for. Christine's shaking her head. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Because it makes him look kind of pathetic.
It almost makes it look like if you're not going to play by my rules, I'm going to take my ball and I'm going home.
Right. And I don't think that this is sad to say, but he hasn't made stellar appearances at the others. So I think much of the, let's say, less educated populace wouldn't even know that he was not on the stage had he kept his mouth shut.
But I think the reasoning for doing it is the headline.
Right.
But
So-
I don't think it's a good headline.
I know. Yeah.
So I don't know who his PR people are about.
Well, his PR people are hoping for a decent headline, and I'm not sure the general public is going to feel that way.
I think
But
the
if-
general public says he should have stepped aside already.
Yeah,
I
well,
agree with
that's
that.
it.
I
Now,
agree with that.
here's the other. So now you have stage 2, so the B team. If you were to go back 1 year and and say there are 2 stages, folks, here's who's on stage number 1. You've got Donald Trump, Ben Carson, young Marco Rubio. Who else is there? Ted Cruz. If you were to say, and then on the other side you have Jeb Bush, and then the list goes on. Wouldn't you look at the other list and say, yeah, that Trump B team, when are they on? 5 o'clock? Anybody going to watch that?
Right.
But here we are a year later, and the Trump B team is not only the A team, but it's like the winning varsity team. Do you see anywhere that doesn't have Trump involved in the nomination? Whether it's a battle over whether he should be, the establishment fights it and tries to bring somebody else in or what have you. But do you see a scenario where Trump at this point is not in some way involved in the in the end?
No.
It's really hard to say he's gone, right?
Right. If he was going to fall off the cliff, it would have probably happened already. It still could happen, but all the things that he said that we've even thought that I don't know if he can survive this or he'll take a hit for this.
It was even
Nothing.
worse. It was even worse. It wasn't just us. It was everybody saying, "Oh, he'll not.
Right,
he's
right.
finally gone too far." How many times did you hear that this year?
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Or
still have
last
our
year.
little cards?
Who we picked?
Yeah. I don't want to know who's right and who's wrong. I think we should just hold them until November.
Well, I don't have it anymore. I don't know where I put it, but I seem to recall who everybody picked. I think I had picked Rubio. I don't know who else everybody picked, though. I just paid attention to mine.
Well,
I'm
I picked
very
Trump and Carson,
self-focused
and
here.
I remembered that
Trump Carson, right?
right, and I
Yeah.
thought I am really going out on a limb.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say the most ridiculous thing.
Well, I do remember you saying that and thinking, okay, you're going with where we are right now, and it'll never be that way by the time we hit the first of the year.
And
look at where we are.
Yeah. I thought it was the most ridiculous thing at the time.
Interestingly, Rubio is in, but I'm not sure that he. You know who's really having some difficulties right now and is getting hammered. And it seems the minute you get to the top, or you start to seem like you're coming after Trump, you get destroyed. And I'm telling you, negative advertising works. And for Trump, he doesn't have to advertise; he just speaks negatively about you.
Yeah.
And it is Ted Cruz who's beginning to. His numbers have dropped.
When I was a young girl.
I was going to get to you, honey. You just sit tight there. I know. It's a very special moment. Listen, she's a 102-year-old teacher. She's still teaching. I was going to do that story. Anyway, Ted Cruz is beginning to falter slightly. And there's a populace out there that has a problem with the fact that he was born in Canada. And who did all that? Donald Trump. Trump did the whole thing. And now they're questioning money. You know, he has this... Cruz has gone after this whole thing where he's not a part of the establishment, and he really isn't the Republican establishment. He's really not a part of it. But he's been hammered by Trump. Somebody uncovered 2 big loans from big banks, Goldman Sachs and that type of thing, and they weren't reported when he ran for Senate. And his big thing when he ran for Senate was that they liquidated everything in their all of their belongings, and that's how he ran for the Senate. He did it on his own, the old-fashioned way. Well, now they find out 2 huge loans taken out. And where did this information come from? Not sure, but who's promoting it? Donald Trump. And he doesn't need a television producer to put the spot together. He just goes out on the campaign trail and talks about it. It's really crazy. I mean, this is a guy that has some steam. And it's not just Republicans supporting him. You know, his biggest support in the United States is from upstate New York. Biggest support is from upstate New York.
Republicans or in general?
His biggest support, I believe, Republicans, which could be, for the most part, is basically in general, right? Because not that many Democrats are going to support him, but some do. Biggest support coming from New York State. Now, speaking of upstate New York, the governor had his State of the State yesterday. And who is this? His last name it's Assemblyman Barron.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy, did he go off yesterday. And he has a history. He's a former Black Panther, right? And there was a story that I found last year that said Assemblyman Barron promises not to interrupt the governor during the State of the State. Well, that was last year, and this is this year. Were you watching as he began to start yelling from the crowd, and you heard some disturbance going on, and Cuomo was trying to ignore it, and then finally he's like, Assemblyman, no matter how much you yell, I'm not going to stop. This is not how you get stuff done. Please stop. And he kept yelling. And this went on for a couple of minutes. Finally, you're saying it was 1 minute? Oh, no.
It felt longer.
No, it was an hour, Christine. Because it did. If you're Cuomo, it had to feel like an hour. So Cuomo, I got to tell you, really quick on his feet.
Do you like the way he handled it? I was going to ask you your opinion of that.
I thought he handled it perfectly.
Yeah, I agree.
And he turned it into a moment where people started applauding and he was yelling, but you could see he was angry. And I'm not sure what the topic was, but I thought, Andrew, we got to be all over trying to get this guy. He's from New York City. He's a former Black Panther. What's his gripe? Why was he yelling at the governor? What was it all about?
I think the rent is too damn high.
Maybe that's what it was. It could have been.
That's not far off. This is not real, Barron accused, in footage captured by an audience member. This is not real. Come to the neighborhoods. The poverty is high. You have $1 billion surplus and poverty is high. Don't believe this hype. Come to the neighborhoods. We're still suffering.
Yeah, all right. You kind of hear that same rhetoric upstate, don't you? You know, this pie in the sky thing that everybody talks about just doesn't really exist.
He continued. I got a great
Oh,
one
there's
here.
more, yeah.
I planned this, Barron told reporters. Remember last year? I sat through the whole thing and I almost died in my seat. I don't like the idea that they show these films demonstrating progress at the beginning of the address. This is a hand-picked audience. Last year I saw the big gaps between the rhetoric and reality.
Well, it is a hand-picked audience. Yeah, they're all senators and assemblymen. And then some special guests. Of course, it's a hand-picked audience. But, we've been a part of, we've seen these nano announcements. We've seen them. And guess who escorted him out? It is with ties to Utica. Assemblyman from Rochester, Joe Morelli, is the one that escorted him out of the building. So pretty wild. Here, have some greens.
Well, Morelli's
Have some
leadership.
greens and get out of here.
Yeah.
Morelli's leadership.
Yeah.
So that would
Well,
make
somebody
sense,
had to get him out of there. So.
Did you hear Cuomo's comment to him that just because you're yelling, it doesn't mean you're right?
Yeah, that was the big.
Who yells all the time at press conferences?
Yeah, I understand, but the way it came off, you had to watch it.
Yeah.
It was probably the right thing for him to do, and he yelled him down. But man, if you saw in his eyes, Cuomo was fiery. Pretty amazing. Here's Christine with an update, 625.
So I just got a call from Joe, who listens. Thank you very much, Joe, every morning via the Radio Pup app in Sarasota, Florida. And have you seen that new New York State ad that also features Utica?
Yes, brand new. I just saw it running. Yeah.
They're running those ads to draw businesses up here in
I
Florida.
was wondering, why are you running the ads in New York when you're trying to attract business from out of state? So I'm glad to see at least they're running
it down in Florida.
Right, they're running it down in
But
Florida.
Joe's thing was, to him, his interpretation is that it makes it seem like the Nano Center is already up and running.
Oh,
Well-
I'm not surprised about that.
I don't agree with that. I saw the ad, and what it does is that it is up and running in terms of the building is built and they're fixed and they're now going to be adding the next element of it. So I don't think it's deceiving at all.
But there are nano jobs, but they're just in Syracuse right now.
And in Albany. And
In
that's
Albany,
the criticism that
And
I've
there
heard.
are some here as well, but they're not the jobs that are supposed to be coming. Now, we can all sit here and debate, is it going to be the 3,000 jobs that they all talked about? We can debate that, but I don't think the commercial is that deceiving. I got to tell you, my take on the commercial was I'm glad that Utica was mentioned in this one, because last year when they put out this commercial, Utica was not mentioned. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So it's probably a positive that we were mentioned. 102-year-old teacher. 102-year-old teacher talks about how school was different. And I want you to think about this. This woman is from New Jersey, and she still teaches school almost full-time. I'm assuming she takes a few days off, maybe a few more than everybody else. She's definitely the oldest teacher in America. Her name is Agnes. I mean, you just know. Mm-hmm. Which Agnes is kind of a name that's coming back around.
It is coming back,
yeah. But it's a name that, people in the baby boomers weren't naming their kids. So she goes back 102 years, and which would take her back to 1914, right? So she had to be teaching in the 30s, the late 30s, probably.
Imagine what she has seen in
think
her
about
lifetime.
It. Yeah. She's been doing it since she was 81. Oh, wait a minute. The Sundance teaches home economics at the Sundance School in Plainfield, New Jersey. She's been doing it since she was 81. Her daughter, Agnes, is in her 70s and also teaches at the school. So they carpool together, these two old ladies. And here she is talking, the 102-year-old, talking about how school was different back in her day, back in the day.
I was a young girl. School was different, completely different. When I was in Illinois, naturally, we didn't have the equipment that they have today. Computers, television, cameras. We didn't have even an inside toilet.
They didn't have an inside toilet.
Oh, my gosh. When I had Jesus in my class, he was a nice boy. He was good at carpentry. Very good.
The fact is, she's also that woman. You hear her; she sounds just like the woman on NPR.
She sounds like
Oh,
you when
yeah,
you
yeah.
do an old woman's voice.
I
thought it was you when you first played the clip. I thought
Well, no, it's really that's really.
Oh, you're getting ready to hear a song.
That's really Agnes, Christine. Anyway, she tells people how to live to be 102.
What's your advice for people if they want to live to be 102?
Just be happy with what you're doing. You have to like what you're doing. My favorite part of teaching here is taking care of the children. I made all the aprons for the children to wear to keep their clothes clean. I made the curtain for the school play. I made costumes, a lot of them. I enjoy that, especially see them on the stage dressed up in what I made.
They remember to have
Stop making fun of
three
her.
Manhattans
She's
every
beautiful.
night.
And I got to tell you though, the only problem I have with when we do these things, when we ask people who are in their hundreds or in their 90s or what have you, why, what's the secret to living a long life? Well, you just do things that you're happy. You got to do things that make you happy. But think of all the people who do things that make them happy that die. I mean, there's a lot of them.
As long as it's not like drugs or
I
extremely
guess, you're right.
dangerous activity.
That's a good
maybe.
point. Yeah.
That's the first one I've
And
heard.
the other thing is, she's like, Common what? Common what? Common Core, ma'am. What do you think of Common Core? Huh? Huh? Common Core. What do you think of the Common Core?
That was a group from the 40s, and they used to play a bunch of different songs.
Yes.
I cannot believe you guys are making fun of this poor woman.
I'm
Just for the
not
record,
making
I'm
fun
not.
of her.
I'm
She's
not
a
saying
very
that.
beautiful
Thank you.
woman. She's really something. Agnes is her name, and she's been teaching for a long time. Although they say she's only been doing this since she was in her 70s. Is that possible? Holy moly. Got a break. Christine has news coming up. Hold tight. It's Thursday morning. Hey, it's almost the weekend.
So yesterday, the Giants, so far, by my count, have interviewed 6 guys. A couple of current coordinators, Ben McAdoo, Steve Spagnuolo, Mike Smith, they interviewed this week. Hugh Jackson, the Cincinnati offensive coordinator who just took a job. Who did he sign? We signed with the Browns yesterday, so that's 5. The other one was your former Bills head coach, former Syracuse head coach, Doug Marrone.
Yeah.
Doug Marrone kind of came out of nowhere. At least I didn't know that he was even a candidate. But someone had suggested to us that maybe he was going to be in the mix. It's looking more and more likely that Doug Marrone is going to be the next head coach of the Giants.
I know it's going to be. I can tell you, it's not even looking like it. It is a fact. I was told last night that Doug Marrone is going to be announced as the new head coach of the Giants.
Really?
Yeah, by a very reliable source.
Well,
you know, when someone walks up to you and says, I had a terrible day last night, you expect them to say, what's wrong? So when I say someone told me last night, I expect you to say,
who?
Oh, Stefan.
Oh.
Stefan is convinced. Stefan Rubitsky is convinced that that Doug Marrone is going to be the next coach of the Giants. And, hey, he could be right.
It's an odd thing with Doug Marrone. Personally, I kind of liked Doug Marrone. I kind of liked him. He was with Syracuse. I thought he helped turn the program around.
I did not like how he ended things.
There. Then he goes to Buffalo, and it's like, and he turned the team
did
around.
Not like how he ended things.
Almost made the playoffs.
There.
Then just walked out.
Yeah.
And actually, that came back to bite him.
Fist fight with Bob Casulo.
Uh-huh.
And then fired him.
Yeah.
Bob is a passionate guy. It's not like you wake up one morning and decide, Bob's going to be arguing with me today. You shouldn't be surprised by that.
Yeah.
But they ended up getting into a fist fight. And I'm not sure in the way he left, he's never said he just left. And like some say you're supposed to leave your girlfriend. Don't try to coddle or don't be nice. You're better off cutting it solid, clean cut, and that's the way kind of Doug Marrone left everybody.
So I do have a bad taste, I guess. I'll just say a bad taste in my mouth from the way he left Syracuse, and then he goes to Buffalo and leaves. It always seemed like he was looking for the next best job. But then the other side of that coin is, and it's not just because I'm a Giants fan, how many better jobs are there if you're a football coach than the Giants? I mean, you could argue, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Raiders, all these original teams, that legendary teams, have a number of Super Bowls. And the Giants are one of them. He's in New York City.
But and here's the other thing about this Doug Marrone move, if it does happen, is that Doug Marrone is from the New York metropolitan area. It's where he grew up. So this would be a coming home moment for him, which could be a real, mean something to him, I guess. So
maybe he wouldn't coach for a year and then leave? Is that what you're
maybe he'd stay there.
saying?
Maybe this was the job he's always been looking for, and this is, it's all been a little bit of a chess match. I don't know. Okay, I have, and we can talk about this when we come back next hour if you'd like. That next hour we're going to have in studio a lot of word traveling around that former state senator and former congressional candidate Ray Meyer is going to be running for the congressional seat that will be vacated by Richard Hanna. Coming up this hour, Ray Meyer will be in studio. We're going to speak to him.
We have him on the show today.
He is in studio.
Who books this show?
Let me tell you, it is not me.
It's an
He
amazing
deserves a raise,
human
whoever
being.
books this
Yesterday
program.
it was
not
Ben
listening.
Carson's wife. Today it's Ray Meyer. And to be honest with you, I got to tell you, the Ray Meyer booking is a big one based on the fact that we're all out there saying, is Ray Meyer going to run? We get to ask him in person here this morning. Now,
Richard Hanna.
Richard Hanna, the last thing Richard Hanna would need if he were to be running right now would be, and you know what, probably Steve Israel probably would not have mentioned his name had Richard been in the race, because this Israel has to know, right? Has to know that putting him in the same bed with Nancy Pelosi is probably not going to help him in his run. But you know what? At this point, it doesn't matter for Richard Hanna because he's not running. What are your thoughts on it?
I think that there's more to come for Richard Hanna, because I think that the next administration would be foolish to ignore him, whatever that administration is, Democrat or Republican.
In what way, though?
An appointment to a
I don't
federal
think that's
position.
Hanna.
I'm not saying that he would accept it. I'm saying that it may be
there
offered.
could be an offering. I guess that's possible. But I don't see him as. But I could be completely wrong. I think he can't wait to be home and to do what he does.
I agree with you.
You're right, and he said that he was doing this for for family. He wanted to spend time with family, but Israel there says it's because he can't find anybody to work with. And then I think there's kind of a. It's great that he mentions Richard Hanna, but then when he says, "Well, name us a Democrat you respect," he names Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, and he struggled naming a Democrat. I thought that was kind of interesting.
The other thing
Anyway,
is,
yeah.
Richard. I didn't know his brother does the restaurants, right? Benny Hanna, isn't that who
I
does?
believe it is. Yes, I think it is. Yes.
It's Hanna. How can you not say Hanna?
Hanna, yeah. So I don't, you want to pipe in on this. I know that if you're far to the right, then you can't. Hanna was probably not your candidate. But at the same time, to me, I really believe that he was and is, by the way. Remember, he's still going for the rest of the year. He's going to be our congressman. But I believe that he's somebody that stood up and voted the way he felt that he needed to vote for his district. There was no party on either side that was able to sway him. And a lot of people don't believe that. But if you know the guy, you know that he's somebody that voted, that really thought very carefully and long before every vote, and he made moves that were not politically correct.
Yeah.
And I know that's a different way we look at the not politically correct, but it's where the phrase initially came from. It's the original politically correct or incorrect, but that was Richard Hanna. He was politically incorrect because he did not follow the way of the party. And if he thought something was stupid, he said it. And a lot of his problem was being a businessman. A lot of his problem was that he took issue with things that couldn't be accomplished. So if you can't win, why are we wasting our time just for the theatrics of the whole thing? And that also got him in a lot of trouble. But when Steve Israel comes out and says, well, I like two. I like Richard Hanna and I like Nancy Pelosi. That is not necessarily good for the right side of the Republican Party.
But don't you think that first of all, he struggled to name a Democrat whom he considered to be a great Democrat. Second, when he did, he kind of was towing the party line.
No, I think he had two in mind.
Okay.
I kind of do. And, no matter what he had in mind, he still puts Richard Hanna in the same, I say bed, in the same arena with the one Democrat that most Republicans just loathe, and that's Nancy Pelosi. So, and even Richard probably would admit that,
we have to pass the bill to find out what's in it.
What's in it? Yeah, that line right there was just brutal. But hey, at the end of the day, that's probably why Richard Hanna was able to accomplish things, because he would work on both sides of the both. He would work with both parties. So to me, that is important. But that's not what we as a country right now seem to be looking at. We're not looking for that right now on both sides. If you're on the Democratic side, you are leaning way to the left right now. And if you're a Republican, look what's going on there. So it's not what we're looking for. But he won't have to be a part of it. And now I think he's kind of free to do whatever he pleases. You don't have to worry about it. So this statement right here by Chris Matthews or Steve Israel doesn't really hurt him, right? How's it going to hurt him?
It's not.
He's not in an election. He doesn't care. As a matter of fact, he might even be chuckling about it right now. I haven't asked him, but we should check. Here's Christine with an update. Good morning. All right, people want to know what happened to the remember whole Biker law firm got involved, and we did the nano contest. And the question was, when, will the jobs come? And it was a pool. We did last year, right? And it may have even started the year before, but we did. I think it was last year we did it. And you had to guess and pick the date when you thought that the governor was going to come to town and announce make the big announcement about the jobs. And it had to be more than 999 jobs. Turned out the governor announced the number of jobs coming to the area for nanotechnology at 1 million. There will be 1 million jobs, nanotechnology jobs here in the area. 1 million of them. It turns out he announced upwards of nearly, 3,000 or something like that, or 2,500 jobs. So the question is, what? What happened? How come?
Right, what happened with
won?
the contest?
Well, somebody won, and the date that the governor actually did come was now. The argument this person is maybe contesting
No, they're not making
here.
this person.
I will say I've heard already arguments.
Okay.
How could you have given it to that guy? Where are the jobs? So, I have to tell you too. I've been hammered by some saying you should be questioning this because the jobs still are not here. But don't these things take time, right? And I would vow to say the following here: if this thing does not turn into, because I believe that it's real. I believe that they are coming. GE is coming, and so is that company from Austria. If it is, but you have to,
or as the governor says,
Australia. You gotta. To me, my belief is you have to sit back and wait. If in 5 years we look back and nothing happened, at that point you have your problem. And maybe it's not 5 years isn't fair. Maybe it should be 2 years or 3 years. But at the same time, to then come out and say right now this isn't happening, it's kind of hard to do that right now because you're still seeing progress, and the projected employment is scheduled to begin to start coming in. They've already committed and signed contracts. Mm-hmm. So, they have to build a building up there for this Austrian company. That's going to take some time. They've already laid out their timeline. So why is it expected that we should be hammering and saying this isn't true when that wouldn't be true? Now, to say it is absolutely 100%, we're going to be looking at 3,000 jobs at the end of 2018 would be irresponsible of us. However, it looks like it is happening. It looks like this is going to be a real big game changer for the area. But do you pounce on it now?
No.
You can't, and we don't really honestly have the infrastructure completely set up.
Correct, which is the point. Yeah, that's part of the point.
I think it's fair to ask questions and to continue to do updates.
I agree.
We just had, I forget, Dr. We had him on just before the Christmas show.
Yeah.
Week before. I can't.
The guy from SUNY.
Yes.
Or from whatever it's called now.
Dr. Gear?
Yes, thank
you.
Richard Gere.
Richard Gere. No, he was from the movies, but go ahead. Is
Greer,
that his name
Dr.
too?
Greer. Who's
Robert Greer.
Robert Greer.
This has been an interesting 15 seconds.
Sorry.
If Richard Gere came in studio, that would be...
Yeah, Richard Gere is in, and he's bringing Julia Roberts. They're going to reenact the actual moment that they did that hooker thing. Remember that? All right, let's move on. We've done enough here. Brandon Lang standing by.
Speaking of the movies.
Probably ready to hang up.
Oh, my
Brandon,
goodness.
good morning. How are you?
No, it's one of the best scenes ever. The Beverly Wilshire Hotel.
Yeah.
The black boots with the bobby pin holding them together. Great movie. Great movie.
Hey, I know it's very early, but I'm already seeing things out right now saying, boy, the Mets look like they're going to have the best pitching staff in all of baseball. Things are seemingly coming together for New York. What are your thoughts there, Brandon?
Yeah, great piece on Major League Baseball Network, and it was an hour. It was on Terry Collins, his life, and you really appreciate and respect. Tony La Russa talks about him and the influence Jim Leyland had on him, and we talked about it before that you're not going to get four better arms, and my good boy Neese is with Pittsburgh now, and so It's funny. The two longest tenured Mets are gone, Murphy and Neese.
Right.
They've been there the longest. So it's going to be interesting to see how those young arms do with all the pressure on them now. I think they're going to be great. I think they're going to be the team to beat. But that whole division with the Cardinals and the Cubs and the Mets and the Nationals, there's going to be some battles in the National League next year, and the Dodgers as well. It's going to be interesting to see as that all unfolds. But, starting with Harvey and Motts and DeGrom and Syndergaard, my goodness, if they all stay healthy, I mean, facing those four consistently, wow, all throw over 97. You're right. It's Terry went 2 years. Probably could have went more. He went 2 years. So he got 2 years to win a World Series. We'll see what happens.
All right. And by the way, Terry Collins was the guest of the governor yesterday at the State of the State. In yesterday's announcement, he was there with Will Pond. And, listen, the Mets had a good year last year. Let's keep it going. We're not used to keeping things going as Mets fans, Brandon.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm wearing my Mets windbreaker right now, and courtesy of John. So I got all my Mets gear on. It's kind of cold here in Jacksonville. Not as cold as by you, but it's cold. So.
Yes, that 60-degree weather is terrible. Pittsburgh, Denver. What do you think?
I'm gonna tell you what. I think this is your blowout. First meeting in Pittsburgh, Denver's up 27-10 at the half. Osweiler was your quarterback. Pittsburgh kind of changed what they were doing defensively in the second half. He didn't react to it. Pittsburgh came back, won the game 34-27. Steelers are banged up. Peyton's back in the saddle. I think this could be your blowout of the 4 games over the weekend. By
the way, it's BrandonLang.com. Before you do any betting, any extracurricular stuff that, you do, you want to go to BrandonLang.com. Brandon, of course, is the inspiration for the movie Two for the Money. And, your whole storyline of how you got into the gambling world, and then you had to get out, and now you're just an advisor, if you will.
Yeah, kind of like it that way. It's go to the website. You want to get a pick? I'll give you a free week. It's like a $4,000 value. It's 11 best bets a day for 7 straight days. It's a 1 week free all access pass at the top of the webpage. In a business where everybody wants something up front, I don't. Have a free week on me. Meet my handicappers and see if we know what we're talking about.
All right, the Patriots in Kansas City.
Tough game. I think this is the toughest game of the 4 because is Kansas City as good as the Texans made them look, or is New England healthy? So my lean, anytime you can get the Patriots laying less than a touchdown in a playoff game in Foxborough, I think they're the right side.
Yeah.
But until I know if Edelman's playing and if he's fully healthy and the status of their line, I'm going to take a step back and make that a game-time decision.
Brandon, Kansas City is going to the Super Bowl. Just
you think that's
throwing
happening?
that out there? Yeah.
A lot of Patriot haters.
I know I'm way out there, but
listen, I'll tell you this much right now. If Kansas City, if it had worked out where they would play Denver and Pittsburgh played New England, I think that would be a distinct reality. Because I think Pittsburgh matches up better against New England, and I think Kansas City matches up better with Denver. So I do agree with you that if Kansas City somehow pulls off the upset and beats New England, then they just might get Denver. I just think Tom Brady in Foxborough, that team with rest, they're so hard to beat, and you got to play so good to do it. Bold statement, like where your head's at, don't think it's going to happen.
All right, over to the NFC. You have Seattle, Carolina, Arizona, Green Bay.
I think Arizona-Green Bay is going to be your highest-scoring game of all 4. I mean, I think last week I gave out 4 totals on your show, went 3-1. I said Green Bay-Washington was going to be the highest-scoring game, and it was. I think this game is going to be the highest-scoring game. Not going to mess with that 7 number, but I'm going to play over the posted total. In Seattle, Carolina, if you really dissect Carolina's 15-1 record, they had 4 games against the worst division in the NFL. That was the Giants, Eagles, Redskins, and Cowboys. Mm-hmm. They beat only 3 teams with a winning record all year, Texans, Seattle, Green Bay. Texans, second-worst division in the NFL. And lastly, they played in probably the third-worst division in the NFL with Atlanta and the Saints and Tampa. So they've done it. It's kind of a mirage, and I think it comes to an end. Seattle's a better team. And let me say this. If Carolina was supposed to cover this number, wouldn't it be 4.5? Why is it 2.5? Why is a 15-1 team at home laying just 2.5 to Seattle? Because the Vegas line maker's telling you Seattle's going to go in there and win that game outright.
All right, it's from BrandonLang.com. You can check it out before you do anything. Brandon, we appreciate it. We'll talk to you again next week.
Got it, guys.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one.
Coming up, I want to talk about this Olympic gold medalist who's been arrested for pushing her father down the stairs. Pretty bad story there. We'll get into that one coming up. And Ray Meyer, is he running for Congress? Ray Meyer in studio. We're going to speak with him coming up next. We have news coming up. Birthdays quickly. Let me throw this at you. Today's the 14th. During the break, I'm being yelled at. What did I say now?
No. I said...
You're completely coming after me here. Go ahead. Hit me.
What I said was...
He's just trying to deflect criticism
I said, what
from his
did you
grandmother.
just...
Nobody's criticized. Only him. He's the only one that's criticized.
I said, what did you just say at the end of that last segment? I said
it's like those people in the movie theater. They're like, don't you dare go there. Don't you do it. Listen, I'm trying to watch this movie. Stop narrating. Please don't narrate during the movie.
I guess my question was, what did you mean by those people?
Those people who talk during the movie.
Is that okay?
Oh, I see. You're going back to the issue when I said it tends to be people of color from the Bronx or from New York City area, right?
And that was how the segment started, right?
Well, and because that's how else would I describe that? I'm not describing an Australian. I mean, I'm not describing a Catholic. But it is tradition in a Southern Baptist church that the people become a part of the sermon in a way that they go back and forth. There's a give and take. And does that racist? Do you think that comes off as being racist?
No. I asked. I thought you should clarify.
I don't see white Methodists when they're sitting in church and the minister says, "And God is going to come down. Is going to get you." I don't see the person, the little old lady sitting there and saying, "You got that right. You got that right. He's going to get you. Hallelujah."
Well, how much time do you spend in a Methodist church?
I've been.
Yeah.
Well, it's a Southern thing, too. It's a Southern thing, too.
It is.
And I've sent y'all pictures.
But I don't think I
saying
see.
that, y'all.
Is it a, but it is a, you're saying it's a white thing?
I'm saying it's
Southern African American
and Southern.
You think?
Yeah.
I've never been
Oh,
there.
Lord, just amen. Oh, yeah.
No, and I'll
I
tell
guess
you.
I've never
Preach
been
it
there.
now. Preach it now.
Okay, I was just asking.
You
a
only in the
question.
movies. You only see the Southern Baptist is the only one I ever see.
I was just asking the question. I can tell you, the person that I mentioned. Well, it doesn't matter if we're watching Jeopardy, if we're watching a
she's white.
series. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
All right.
She's a sweetheart. We love her.
I just found it yesterday during the governor's speech. It was it's just interesting, and it is. I'm not criticizing it by any means. It's just a way of life. It's a Sunday morning way of life, and you know, in my church, if you were to speak up, they look at you funny. Like, what are you? Why are you talking? Mm-hmm. I'm in the middle of my sermon, young man. Please don't speak. Whereas if you're at a Southern Baptist church, it's like if you're not speaking, how come you're not saying hallelujah?
Yeah.
Why aren't you joining in? Mm-hmm. You have a problem with the preacher's saying? What the preacher man's saying?
There is some peer pressure when you go to a church in the South. I think I sent you pictures of when I went to a church service.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was the only one who wasn't saying anything.
It is very inclusionary.
Well, as
everybody's involved.
As they say down there,
that's a good thing.
God can't read your mind, so speak up.
Statewide School Finance Consortium looks towards financing when it comes to New York State and funding the schools and equitable funding of schools. And the governor and even Assemblyman Brindisi came out and was quite pleased with what the governor had to say about education, the money that was going to be spent in education. I'm not sure that the SFFC in Syracuse and my father-in-law, Dr. Rick Timms, agrees. On the line right now, what are your thoughts on the governor's contribution to schools?
It's anemic at best.
Anemic at best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, there hasn't been a group in the state, including the Board of Regents, who are usually very conservative on these issues, that haven't requested, respectfully, about $2.5 billion. His proposal is less. He said it was $991 million. So it is far. It's like a third of what anybody thinks the schools actually need.
Yeah.
And he's peppered in there all kinds of little what we call categoricals, little money for this one, little money for that one. But most of the schools in the state are really going to not get much money at all.
And how will that affect like a district like Rome, the larger school districts, the city of Utica? How does it affect them?
Well, it's a tremendous effect on these districts. I mean, what's going to actually happen here is that they won't get as much money as they need to adequately operate or bring programs and staff back they've lost over the last 5 years. I mean, Utica alone has lost, 385 staff members in 4 years, $20 million worth of budget cuts. Same thing. So what is actually happening here is I think we're going to have to duke it out with the governor using our legislators. And they've got to come to the fore and put these schools on the right financial track.
We had a representative yesterday from the Teachers Federation. It was the American Teachers Federation?
American Federation of Teachers.
American Federation
right,
of Teachers.
Randy Weingart.
Yeah. She was on it, and she proposed a bit of a different way of getting the money for schools, and she feels that it shouldn't be about property tax. It should just be a part of a built-in income tax or a built-in tax in New York, changing the whole structure altogether. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not really in favor of an income tax. I mean, if we had an income tax during the last recession, we would have been in big trouble because a lot of people lost their jobs.
Right.
But the property never goes away. The property's always there.
The problem, though, would be that the property in Utica, take the house and move it to another a wealthier city, and it's worth so much more. That is part of the problem for cities like Utica.
Exactly correct. But the thing is I don't think what we do is substitute one problem for another.
Right.
What we really have here is, there's a constitutional amendment in the New York State Constitution that requires the state to provide a sound basic education, and the money's there, too, to support these school districts. Now, there are two major court cases right now in the court system in New York battling because New York has failed to do that. Back in 2007-8, they came up with a formula to try to start to do that. Then they reneged on the formula, never paid that money, and then actually started subtracting from that money.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's calling that gap elimination adjustment, that GEA. And again, the governor, here we got a state with a $2 billion surplus. Last year was a $5 billion surplus. And we still have this gap elimination adjustment. In other words, a withdrawal of 8 schools on the premise that the state is broke.
Yeah. Back in the day when Ray Meyer was a state senator, you two probably worked together. I believe you were a superintendent at the time. Ray is in studio now. We're going to be chatting with him about something else. But, Ray, if we could bring you into this,
sure.
Have you watched what's happened to these schools over these years?
And I think Rick will remember he was my tutor because when I first got elected to the state senate, I talked to him one day and said, this is like trying to figure out the formula for building a hydrogen bomb. And we used to meet in exciting places like the McDonald's in Clinton, and Rick would tutor me on the school aid formula. And look, what finally came to pass was that one day I figured out there is no school aid formula. They decide how much money they're going to spend on education, and then they whack it up by percentages, the so-called shares. Rick will understand that term among Long Island, New York City, and upstate. And we used to be able to get a little bit of extra money outside the formula for Utica, and the only way I could get that is I would go to Joe Bruno and threaten to vote against the budget.
Right.
But getting it outside the formula never fixed the problem.
Right.
Right, Rick? I mean, it was...
You're absolutely right, Ray, and I do miss those sessions. We had a great time.
Yeah.
The more things have moved forward, the less they've changed. They are still working outside the formula they finally did to create some equity.
Right.
They actually remake up a formula every year. So state aid is not only lackluster in the amount, it's unsupportive to schools, but it's totally unpredictable.
Yeah, okay, so
we're having a heck of a time trying to keep these schools on an even footing.
I've got about 45 seconds. So Assemblyman Brindisi, our Senator Griffo, Claudia Tenney, Butler, these guys are all going to have to get together and really push to improve upon this. Is that what the plan has to be?
Absolutely. They've got to. Matter of fact, I think the Senate and Senator Griffo's Senate has already passed a resolution, and they've gone on record saying until that entire gap elimination adjustment is gone, they will not pass a budget.
All right.
So that would be another $245 million. But we really need, you probably need another $1 billion or more on top of what they've got here. I mean, this is, it's almost like the schools are being held hostage while they pursue their lawsuit.
Yeah.
The money that's due to them.
Very interesting. We'll see where this all goes. Dr. Rick Timms, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on this morning.
You're welcome. Thanks. Good luck.
Okay, got a break here. Listen, coming up, we will talk to Ray Meyer right after the news break. And the question would be, is he running for president? I mean, that's the big question. Everybody wants to know. We'll get into that coming up. Hold on tight. So back at the end of last year, we learned that Congressman Richard Hanna is not running for re-election. Claudia Tenney has jumped in. We know that a guy by the name of George Phillips in the Rochester area has jumped in on the Republican side. And could there be another? There's names like Pacendi and Griffo. And on the Democratic side, Brindisi being thrown around. And one of those other names is Ray Meyer. And he's in studio with us right now. Good morning, Ray.
Morning, Bill.
So you're, this would be, if it would not be anything new. You've been there before.
Yeah.
In a real battle, that campaign was against Mike Arcuri.
Yeah, 2006 was a rough year for any Republican candidate, and that race turned nasty because of outside influences of both parties from Washington. And I've told Mike that he and I should get together and write a book about that because it gives you some real insight into what it's like to run for Congress.
And
not a fun job.
And you couldn't stop the this is the famous 900 call commercial that attacked Mike Arcuri, and that came from outside. It wasn't. I seem to recall you coming out and saying, "This is not me." I would ask that this type of advertising stop, but it didn't.
Yeah, that's right. Federal election law prohibits candidates from having any control or communication with these so-called independent expenditures, and it. Look, this is a rough business. There's people in Washington who go to work every day in both parties, and their job is not just to beat you by getting your opponent getting one more vote.
Right.
It's to destroy
your
character,
image.
to besmirch everything you've ever done in your life. It's
and we're seeing that done at the federal, on the presidential level.
Oh, and it's going to get worse.
And it's going to get. Look what's going on with. You can love her or hate her, but there's an entire group of people. Their only job is to destroy the image of Hillary Clinton, and sometimes I think she does it all on her own. But look at what's happening to Ted Cruz right now. He gets close to Trump, and all of a sudden now they're questioning his ability to run for president because he was born in Canada, and now there's money that was loans that didn't get reported. All of a sudden, you get pounced on.
Well, think about it. This is high stakes stuff.
Yeah.
This is the presidency of the United States. And in my case, in 2006, it was about control of the House of Representatives.
Right.
Immense power is at stake, and people, I think, throw away their ethical compass. I think they get blinded by the stakes.
Manaski.
I was going to ask if you still had the sailor's hat, because that was the feature. You were the drunken sailor.
Well, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee ran an ad that said I spent money like a drunken sailor. We got a lot of phone calls on that from both drunks and sailors who said they were offended by the ad. So.
I remember they imposed this this Gilligan's Island looking hat on your head in the commercials.
Yeah.
So, and you look in Congress, you look at some of these commercials, and they're just ridiculous. But you're seeing that on the presidential race. There was "These boots are made for walking" on Rubio. I saw the other day. They're just almost cartoonish, and it's juvenile. But really, when you do look back at the history of the country, way back to the beginning, the campaigning was rough and tough back then.
You can go back to the foundation of the country. George Washington, of course, was an icon.
Yeah.
But after that, Adams, Jefferson,
there was some fighting
Jackson.
going on.
There was fighting going on. There were the worst slanders imaginable tossed back and forth in those days in the print media. Grover Cleveland famously was accused of fathering a child out of wedlock. There was a slogan the opposition used: "Mama, where's my pa? Gone to the White House, ha ha ha."
Yeah,
So this is nothing new. But the development of the media, and today the social media. Gives the ability for people to use these kind, and I don't blame it on the media. It's technology.
It is
that makes it possible.
That allows for the incredible barrage that we've never seen the likes of this ever in history.
Yeah.
It's incredible. All right, so your name has been tossed around. Richard Hanna's not running. It looks like right now we have this guy by the name of George Phillips down in Binghamton, and Claudia Tenney. Your name has been tossed around. What can we learn here today?
Well, more than my name's been tossed around over the years, but this isn't exactly riveting news. But I'm still looking at it.
Yeah.
You run once, so obviously I have an interest in the job. So I think I've really got to look at two different sets of considerations.
Yeah.
One is, does it make sense for me at this point in my life and career? And for my family and so forth. And then the other side of it is, does it make sense for the district? Would I be the right fit to fill the role of congressman at this time? So I'm continuing to talk to people. I got to make a decision probably within a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and I will. So that's where I am right now.
Well, let's talk politics a little bit beyond the actual race.
Yeah.
A lot. You're a social conservative.
That's true.
And Claudia Tenney seems to be someone who is appealing to the social conservatives. A lot of people feel you're the perfect fit to challenge Claudia Tenney.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I look at it in terms of who's the right fit to challenge Claudia. I look at it in terms of who's the right fit to
win,
to represent the district, and to win. So
let's talk about the district. A lot of people have, Sherry Boulder. This was a moderate district. It has changed somewhat now, but
a little more Republican than the district I ran
than it used to be. Yeah, and you'd be replacing someone if elected, who is definitely a moderate and has gone right into followed into the footsteps of Sherry Boulder. Yeah.
So if you look at my entire record, I think I'm sort of I'm a conservative Republican, but I'm not crazy. I don't think that there are people.
Did we land on the moon?
Did we land on the moon? I didn't, but I think a guy named Neil Armstrong did.
So you agree that actually happened and wasn't sort of a...
Sure. But when I say, to me it's sort of interesting. I mean, I supported Richard Hanna in the primary last time, although Richard and I have some disagreements.
Yeah.
But more and more what I look at is somebody's integrity and work ethic and willingness to get things done. Look, I served as a legislator for 10 years in the state Senate. And I would get criticism sometimes from my fellow conservatives, and I used to say to them, I'm not teaching a course here in political philosophy. I'm trying to help govern.
Right.
And that means you got to reach out. You got to work with people who don't see the world the way you do. And by the way, this business in Washington, in the Republican conference in the House, that we're going to shut the government down if we don't get our way. These people not only don't understand history, they don't understand the news. This is always blown up in the face of the Republican Party.
Right.
Always. I mean, the first guy who did it was Gingrich in 96, I think, 95, and it blew up in the face of the party.
So yet they'll come back and say, but look at what happened. I mean, we've gained seats in Congress. A lot of that is about the way these the redistricting has been done.
The first time they shut down the government, they actually lost seats in
and that was the
Congress.
Gingrich.
But look, I think what happens is people sort of misread the mandate. The mandate is when Republicans gain seats in Congress is government is too big, it's too bloated, it's too intrusive into people's lives. Do something about it. They're not saying blow it up and shut it down.
Right.
Those are two different. And I think the problem with some Republican House members is they misread the message.
Well, it's interesting when you say, is this the right time? It seems like it's the right time for blowing it all up, right? That seems to be because you've got Trump at the top who just can say anything. Can you imagine some of the things that have come out of his mouth and his poll numbers go up? Makes you wonder if someone who's going to look at this in a thoughtful way is going to be the right person, or are we as Americans or New Yorkers, are we looking for that shut it all down, tear it all down, and let's rebuild it?
I don't think so. I think, Trump's attraction really is that I guess people are angry. Somebody said to me the other day, this was an active Republican, well, we should support Trump because he's saying what the people want to hear. And I asked the question, is that what leadership is about?
Right.
Is that what it's about? Telling people what they want to hear? Or is it, okay, we hear you. There are serious and very deep problems here. Let's talk about how we solve them. And frankly, listening to Donald Trump, I don't really, and I listen closely and follow this stuff, I don't understand what he believes in other than Donald Trump.
Right. It's a very good question. And when you watch it, he definitely believes in Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
There's
well,
and
hey, look,
he'll be the first to tell you about it.
A lot to be said for self-confidence.
Yeah.
People want a leader that has self-confidence.
Right.
He's put out a detailed tax plan. I have an 8-year-old granddaughter, by the way, who you should put her on. She does a great Donald Trump imitation, and she thinks it's hysterical that he repeats over and over again, I'm going to build a wall. It's going to work. It's going to be beautiful.
Without details, it's going to be beautiful.
No
it's going to be big.
Yeah.
You left out, and people are going to love it.
Yeah.
Including the Mexicans, by the way.
Who will pay for it.
Yeah, gotta love it. All right, hold tight. Ray Meyer in studio. Come right back, 8:20 at WIB. All right, in studio, 8:23, we have Ray Meyer, who is someone and now has told us that he is, at the very least, considering a run for Congress. So let's talk about some policies.
Sure.
Some of the things that Congressman Richard Hanna has done and has had criticism. Earlier, we talked to, actually, we played the clip from Chris Matthews, who asked Steve Israel, who's leaving Congress on the Democratic side, asked him, is there one Republican out there that you would respect? And he's, he hemmed and hawed and finally said, well, yes, there is. I would respect Richard Hanna. And that doesn't make Republicans, especially on the right, very, very happy. But isn't that, how do you feel about Hanna has been able to work with both sides? And the other thing he's done is he's voted his conscience, and it might not be something that certainly socially you would have, some of the Planned Parenthood issues and things like that. What are your thoughts on that type of statesmanship, if you will?
Well, look, I have a voting record you can look at from when I was in the state Senate. I always had a strong pro-life voting record. I disagree with Richard on some of these social issues, but I got to tell you, in the last primary cycle, I supported Richard, and the reason I did that, even though I disagreed with him on a number of things, was I appreciate his integrity. I appreciate his work ethic, his love for this community, and his willingness to work across the aisle. So Steve Israel and I guess would agree on that. Somebody like that who can try to move to the middle and fashion a solution to get things. The reason people are so angry, Bill, is I don't know if it's just visceral distaste for government, period, as it is nothing gets done. That's why people are so angry.
Nothing is getting done.
Yeah.
So I would. Did you have something?
Well, you mentioned some differences with Richard. Is it philosophical? Can you kind of talk about maybe?
Well, Richard and I, mostly on the whole, pro-life issue, the whole, the Planned Parenthood thing. I think we've got some disagreements there. But look, I don't think, if you want to look for somebody who agrees with you on 100% of everything, go see a psychiatrist, because people are different. That's
and he's getting paid. That's the only way he's agreeing with you.
Yeah, that's not the way the world works. And so, we have some disagreements, but as I say, on the whole, based on his overall look at the world and his character and work ethic, that's why I've supported him.
And while he's socially a little more on the liberal side, fiscally he's fairly conservative. He's a businessman.
Yeah, he's for the most part been a fairly traditional pro-business, pro-economic growth Republican.
How about the Benghazi issue? Richard looked at it that way. He looked at it saying, "Listen, we're not going to accomplish anything. We've done this 5 or 6 times. Let's do something." But he received a lot of criticism there, almost as if he was supporting Hillary Clinton, and I think that kind of backfired on him.
It did. And, Richard, if nothing else, is candid, and he'll tell you what you're thinking. And I'll frankly tell you, I told him I wish he hadn't said it exactly that way. Look, the whole Benghazi thing has to be troubling. A United States ambassador and several American service members were murdered there.
Right.
And this phony explanation that it was a spontaneous reaction to an anti-Muslim video was given. I think there's a lot there. Now,
it was pretty obvious, though, don't you think, that with the president in a pretty tight race,
sure,
it was pretty obvious they didn't want it out, and they were trying to kind of manufacture the message.
Sure. Now, here's the problem. It did become partisan to the extent that you had a bunch of members of Congress trying to question, Hillary Clinton and others who, as lawyers, frankly, I wouldn't hire to represent me in a traffic ticket. What needed to be done there,
that one hearing was just a farce.
It was awful.
Yeah.
But there's a lot there. There's something wrong. The American people were lied to.
Right.
And I won't defend Hillary Clinton. She's got a lot of explaining to do. But they needed a competent trial lawyer who knows how to frame up a question to get to an end point to question her.
Well,
and they didn't
think,
do that.
And the question was the intent to take down Hillary Clinton, or was the intent to get to the bottom of what really happened? And you saw family members and those involved coming out and saying, who were nonpartisan, saying, this was nothing to do with getting to the bottom of this issue. That's the problem with it. That's what they took issue with.
Well, so there's two different sets of issues there. But to me, the overriding one is the American people were lied to. Something went tragically wrong at Benghazi. There are grieving family members who deserve
answers,
justice, and answers. And, this needs to be dealt with in a very serious way.
So, Isis, your thoughts on, it's easy for us all to look on the outside and say we're not doing enough. What should we have to head hard? We've got to attack these people. But we're looking at a different enemy. How would you look at this? Do you see boots on the ground? Do you feel maybe we might be going in the right direction but not doing enough? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the president's going in the wrong direction. He's sort of trying to minimalize this when he's saying, there's a lot of people afraid that these people are coming after us. Well, Mr. President, the fact of the matter is they sort of have been coming after us.
And their intent is to kill. Period.
Yeah, their intent is to kill. Now, look, the American people were war weary. Nobody wants to send any more, young Americans overseas. But the fact of the matter also is that it may require greater intervention other than intermittent bombings.
Yeah.
This should be first the responsibility of the responsible Arab Muslim world, but they may need more support from us. And trying to minimize, when the president says this is not World War III, I got bad news for him. This is very big. This is civilizational conflict. These are people who hate everything we in Western civilization stand for in terms of open societies, religious tolerance, cultural tolerance, democracy. We are in a civilizational conflict, and we had best take it more seriously.
Well, it's interesting when you look if you're a history person and you look back to the inception of this country. It's like saying, because the revolutionaries, those that created this country, they didn't use traditional means of warfare. It's like England looking down and saying, this isn't a war. This isn't a revolutionary war. It's a conflict we're going to deal with. It's almost the same. They're not using...
Yeah, how'd that work out for England?
It didn't work out really well, right?
Yeah.
So timing. If you are going to consider this, which you say you are considering, what's your timeline look like?
I've got to talk to a few more people. Most importantly, my wife and the kids are grown, but I need to talk to them too because it affects a family. It's rough on the family. I've got to talk to some political leaders, and I want to spend a little more time just talking to folks in the community to see if they think it makes sense, not just for me, but more importantly. So. Today's the 14th. Maybe by the end of the month, end of the first week in February, I think I'd like to see who else gets into it. Because, hey, look, one of the things, and I recommend this to elected officials out there, getting your fanny kicked in an election is a great humbling experience, and it makes you realize there's no indispensable person in this business. If somebody's out there who can do this. And do it well, I'll support them.
How much did that hurt, that loss to Mike Arcuri?
Abe Lincoln once said after losing an election, he served, I think, one term in the House of Representatives and then was defeated. He said it was like the little boy who stubbed his toe. It hurt too much to laugh, but he was too grown up to cry. Sure, it hurts. You know, you spend a lot of time and energy and go through incredible grief. You come home and find your wife crying because of things they're saying about you on television. But you know what? I've always believed you don't live your life in the rearview mirror. So for about a week, you didn't want to be around me. And then after that, things got better. You enjoy more time with your family. I got a great job with a great law firm, Bond, Shinnick & King, and life went on. And life's pretty good right now, you know?
All right. We'll see what happens. Time is ticking.
Yes, it is.
But not that quickly, though. You've got some time. So.
We'll see. Thanks.
All right. Ray Meyer, thanks so much. We'll take a break and come right back. 8:32 at WIBX. Nagel in studio right now. Good morning.
Morning, Bill.
Good morning. And we're going to talk to you. You want to hang a little bit? I see. Whose birthday is it, by the way?
It's Shiner's birthday. It's
Shiner's birthday. I have a little birthday beer going on here. Before we get to the beer, Howard and Amanda Potter are in here right now. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Get really tight. Pull that mic right up to your... you literally have to... There we go. There. You literally have to touch it. I'm sorry for that. Okay, you guys are with AMP Master Images. Your story is amazing. How you started this, right? You started at a very interesting place. Why don't you tell your story for those that haven't heard the Howard Potter story?
Well, he didn't say the Harry Potter
story. You see who passed away? Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah. Anyway, your story is very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everything. You know, we have very humble beginnings. You know, we started from a 15 by 15 room in our house with this company, and before that, you know, I was raised in the House of Good Shepherd for a good 6-7 years of my life. You know, it was my dream to own my own business one day. You know, more or less just basically graphics, but it evolved into something that's much more than that, and we're very fortunate to where, you know, now we own a building in the city of Utica. You know, we're employing a total of about 15 full-time people, offering benefits. You know, we just started a retirement package last year, so, you know, very excited. You know, we're doing a lot of things over there, and very thankful for everything.
So, and I'm told you had a recent honor, and there's some hiring that's in the works here.
Yes. My wife and I just came back from Orlando. We just both received our certifications for promotional products, which there's over 400,000 people in the industry. We are 2 of 1,024 people that have even received these certificates.
Wow.
So, I mean, what that basically says is, you know, anybody can go online and find something cheaper. Doesn't mean they know the background of the product or, you know, the quality of the manufacturer that's producing it. You know, say you need a plastic water bottle. Well, you need to make sure it's BPA certified so there's no harmful plastics and stuff like that.
Right, that's a good point.
So there's a lot of little technical things that do make a difference.
Yeah, you know, you just don't know what you're getting. I mean, you can go to, as you said, you can get online, you can find this stuff in China, and who knows what the product's made of, and whether it's safe for you or not, or your kids, for God's sakes.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, you have apparel that has recalls from zippers or breaking a finger on a zip cord on the side of a jacket, but you know, all those things are very important. You need to know the backgrounds of it, and believe it or not, majority of people the people that are selling it do not know the backgrounds because you got to do the research.
And then you guys, your background story, and now you're hiring. So you already have 15 employees. You're offering benefits.
Yes.
That's a big deal for, especially where you came from and where, you know, where this business was just 5 or 6 years ago. So what's going on now? You're going to hire people for a new project.
Yes, basically, we're in the process of taking applications for a spare operator position where you'll basically learn anything that you can, you know, keep up with, from learning screen printing, embroidery, vinyl, all that. We have that position open. It's a full-time position, minimum of 40 hours a week. We don't do 32 or 34. We do 40 hours plus a week. And then my wife, I'll let her give a little bit of background on her opening that she has for an assistant for the CFO.
Okay.
I just need help. So I manage our HR. I also do all of our accounting, and I have my own sales portfolio. So it's become a point where I have a 9 and a 12-year-old at home, and
Yeah.
I need help. So I need a right-hand man or lady to help me start lifting some of this weight off of myself. So that's really, I'm going to, need
What
somebody
would the
who's-
position be called? Executive assistant? Or
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. They will
Okay.
absolutely be an executive assistant to the CFO.
Okay.
That's the title that I've been given.
Yeah.
But it's just someone to basically help, type up orders for me as I get them, or, entering bills into our system for payables, and, just keeping up with some of my customer bases, just because I don't feel that I'm as attentive as I'd like to be.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just need a little bit of help.
So business is good.
Yes.
That's a good thing. I mean, we don't always hear those stories.
Well, I mean, what's really unique about what we do is only 60% of our business is in New York State. The other 40% is in over 15 states and 4 countries.
Wow.
Recently, a month ago, you had to ship somewhere,
Chile.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is to ship a package to Chile with customs? I mean, DHL was great, but oh my God, it was.
There's a lot to go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, so if somebody is interested, do they go to a website? Do they call you?
Yes.
How do they do that?
We have multiple ways. We have our website at masteryourimage.com.
Okay.
Or they can call us at 793-1934. We also have an A&P Master Images on Facebook and Twitter, so we're very responsive on all those fronts. And then we have our email addresses as well from our website. So.
All right. Congratulations, you guys. What you guys are doing it's kind of the American dream, the American story, or the Utica Rome story, however you want to look at it. It's an awesome story.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. It's A&P Images. So if you want any T-shirts, any products, any novelty items, you guys are ready to take care of people.
Yes, sir.
Or if you want something shipped to Chile.
Exactly.
You guys know how to do it. All right, good stuff. You want to try a little of this birthday beer?
Oh, yeah.
Nagel, what do you have here? This is the Shiner birthday beer, and it is 107. Is that their...
That is their birthday, yes.
Oh, it's 107 years old.
So every spring they celebrate their birthday with a new beer. Last year it was a chocolate stout. It actually tasted like a chocolate cake.
Yeah.
And spring seasonals are really all over the place. It's a very big country. Some people's springs are like our summers. Depending on where the brewery is, you might have something along the lines of a porter or a stout, or it could be something a lot lighter and crisper like this. So this is a hoppy Pilsner. Nice Pilsner lager beer, kissed with just a little bit of European hops, German Hallertauers and Czech Saaz hops. So it starts out like, just your ordinary domestic Pilsner, and then finishes with just a little bit of bitterness, a little bit of a citrusy aftertaste from what they call the noble hops.
Yeah, how much is a kiss of hops? I would like to
just
know.
a little bit.
Yeah. If you don't like, what do you think of this, guys?
First of all, I don't drink beer, and this tastes very good.
It is, yeah.
I know, it's...
You like it?
Yeah, it's very good. Very
And I got to tell you, if you don't like sweet, this you'd be fine with this because it's not sweet at all. But it does have there's a little citrus there.
Yeah, and that's probably from the Saaz hops.
Yeah.
The hops really just dry it out, so it doesn't taste. And it's an all grain bill too, so a lot of your domestic pilsners use a little bit of corn as an adjunct. It's cheaper than grain, and it's a little sweeter. This is an all malt, so it's going to be a little drier.
Really good. Shiner birthday beer 107.
Yep.
And it's available all over the place.
Yep. It's even on sale at a store that rhymes with Price Chopper.
Okay. All right. I never knew Price Chopper rhymed with Price Chopper. That's awesome. You learn something every day. Christine, though, do you have that beer, Christine?
I left it on my desk.
You did. Well, tell her that she has her own beer now. Did you see it?
How cool is that?
I have not seen it.
It's the Christine brand. It's called... I love this idea. It's called... Can I talk about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you should talk about it, not me. Reporter. Because she's a reporter, and it's porter.
That is fantastic.
Reporter. And
That's
Christine's picture is on it. It's a part of the TV show she does with Rick Lewis. So
Really next door, yeah.
Clever idea. I like it a lot. All right, good stuff. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Just a reminder: our upcoming beer on tap, Utica on tap at the Odd. Remember, many people went last year. Huge event. It is coming back. It's happening on April 30th. But advanced early bird ticketing is available now through the end of the month. So
Great
check
event.
that out right on our website.
Sells out, and it's awesome. There's food, music, and lots of beer.
Lots and lots of beer.
Nagel's there. And if you see Nagel there, you can hit him, and he'll say all these words about beer that you've never heard before and don't understand, because he's a genius when it comes to beer. All right, cool stuff. Hold on tight. We're coming right back. Well, there you have it. Nagel, did you play at all?
Yes, I did win the Powerball.
You did. Good
and
for
only
you.
the Powerball.
And only the Powerball. I think I had
$4.
I had two numbers that had a Powerball.
Nice.
So that means I get $4, right?
Yes.
Or is it 8?
No.
It's $2.
2 plus the Powerball is 7.
If you have one Powerball number, what do you win?
4.
Oh, so I got $8.
Well, no. If you have the actual Powerball, you get 4, and then if you have 1 plus the Powerball, you still get 4, which I don't understand.
It's Common Core math.
I know.
Yes,
it's Common Core math.
And then 2 plus the Powerball, you get 7.
I get 8 because I have 2 tickets that had the Powerball.
Beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you're buying beer.
By the way, that segment there with the music in the background, very reminiscent of like an Ocean's 11 or 12 with this.
The Powerball
beboppy-
really does the whole. It's jazzy. You're right. It's kind of like that Ocean's 11 music, something out of the crooner age.
I think if they had Yolanda Vega doing it,
Yeah.
it would be 3.5
Well, it's
billion.
crazy.
It
Andrew,
would take
let's-
3 times
let's-
as long.
Let's do a free money question here, Andrew. 7360186, caller 7 right now. A chance to win $100 in cash from the Hobica Law Firm. 7360186. I know you've been involved. You can call right now, by the way. We'll give you a chance to win from Hobica, our free money question of the day. You've watching this Whitesboro thing go around. It does seem as if the mayor made a statement yesterday, and they are going to kind of redo, caller 7, right? They're going to redo the logo. Is that what came out of that yesterday?
They're going to evaluate it.
They're going to evaluate it.
Sure.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole thing? I know we're in a politically correct world.
We are.
But at the same time, you do graphic arts work.
I did. and I had a rendering of the logo, too. But,
I've seen that.
I went to Whitesboro High School, and growing up, it wasn't really a focal point of anything that has to do with Whitesboro. And I made a comment on Facebook yesterday that, the way that people are making a big deal about this and like there's some sort of sense of urgency to change it, it would seem as though it came from within the community, but it hasn't.
Right.
I think it's a delicious irony that the internet just can't leave alone because they see a town called Whitesboro and
They
a
use the
logo
word
with
white.
a white guy.
That's what the Daily Show has done with it. They've turned it into a
brown guy.
into a white versus
Sure. So
color.
I mean, these are the same websites that can't resist printing up their top 20 reasons why Utica sucks.
Yeah.
And, I don't respect their opinion. I don't care about their opinion. And if it had come from within the community itself, I think that it should be a serious conversation.
Yeah.
But it's a 24-hour news cycle. It'll be forgotten in 2 days.
You may be right. Yeah.
And I just,
I do think that on the other hand, the way I look at it is that is it really worth fighting over, and is it ingrained in Whitesboro the way that people are fighting for it? And
I wouldn't say that we're dug in defensively.
Yeah.
But I would say also that, it would be nice. We're kind of a kick-around town around here to retain some sort of autonomy over what we deem to be acceptable.
All right.
So
you're with leave it alone, don't mess with it.
Yeah, it's not as though, I think I saw it once on like a garbage truck growing up. It's not as though we don't rally around this. It's not a mission statement. It's just
right.
It's a
the
logo.
problem with today is that in this day and age,
Get Bill going.
No, I'm only
Gotta
saying
get 'em
in this
going.
day and age, you're stuck with no one. It's not like you have CBS, ABC, NBC, and that was it. AP and
Reuters.
writers, and today it's everybody. It's everybody from Perez Hilton to E and everything else, and it's not real news.
No.
But they destroy people, and it's not. Look at what's happening to Whitesboro right now. We've seen it done to individuals and to businesses. Look at what has happened to the Flake Creek Cider Mill. It is an awful thing what is done based on just social media, how you can destroy a business or a brand.
And what I would say to that is show me the injured party. Show me somebody who has, been aggrieved by this.
Andrew?
I believe the guy in the seal was taken down to the ground. That's what happened there.
Well, no, I got to say, though, one of the funniest things was Stephen Colbert. You talk about the, all the irony that's involved in this seal. And Stephen Colbert's report, Stephen Colbert's take on it last night was kind of funny as he breaks down, okay, well, is this guy white? And then they zoom in on the face of Hugh White, and he's pretty white. And they say, oh, it's not like the guy's name is, his name's White. But they're not talking about the Hugh. Oh, his name is Hugh White from Whitesboro.
Yeah.
So I mean, his take on it was kind of funny, but
I
that's
find
just what his job is.
The further away you are, the easier it is to pick on somebody.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's how topics work so well, because you aren't saying anything face to face. Personally, I believe they should change the logo only because it's goofy looking. And
I will agree.
It's bad artwork. That's my only take on it.
I can't quote who put this up, but somebody had said, like, yeah, good for you, Whitesboro. You've got a 1980s Bruce Dickinson choking a 1940s baseball mascot, you know?
That is funny. All right, Pam, I don't want to make Pam wait any longer. Here we go for $100 in cash. Pam, good morning. How are you?
Good.
And Pam just so happens to be from Whitesboro.
Ding, 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 ding.
How
she
are
should
you,
be a
Pam?
winner right there.
Have you survived all of this controversy?
Yes.
Okay. I think we'll all get over it. All right.
She's already a winner.
Sooner or later, we're going to get through this. Okay, here we go. Here's your question. Are you ready? You know, Monday is Martin Luther King Day.
Yes.
That means all the kids will be off. No mail or anything like that on Monday. The banks will be closed. All of that stuff, at least in New York. Martin Luther King's real name was... now, I'm going to try to be really fair with this. Martin Luther King's real name is not Martin Luther King. Well, it is technically, but here's the deal. At some point in his life, he changed his name. He was born Michael King Jr. Within 10 years, at what age was his name officially changed to Martin Luther King Jr.? Within 10 years. What year, how old was he when his name was changed? Does that make any sense? Ready? Go.
I'll say 35.
35. All right. We can cut it right now. He was only 5.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And the junior part was kind of the hint. So his father took a trip to Germany and became really enamored by this guy in history named Martin Luther. He came home, changed his name to Martin Luther King, and immediately changed his 5-year-old son's name to Martin Luther King Jr., and that's the history of the whole thing. But how about if we give you dinner for 2, okay?
Okay.
Andrew's going to hook you up. Thanks a lot. Have a great day in Whitesboro.
You too.
Okay. In Whitesboro. Anything else I have to do?
No.
right.
We can go right to the top, too.
We can. All right. Okay. I will tell you, I had my wife's cat died.
I said that was what happened. I knew that's what
And
happened.
I am having a kind of a hard time with it. I didn't love the cat by any means, but
You love
it
your
was
wife, yeah.
awful because it happened like this morning. It started to happen last night, and it was, I've talked about this since I think I started talking about this when I first started here 3 years ago, saying, yeah, my wife's cat is going to die. I can't wait for it to happen.
Are you getting
And now
emotional?
I'm not emotional.
Okay.
No. But I am. I feel terrible about it. And she just kind of fell asleep. So very sad. I'm not tearing up at all. Here's Christine with an update. Good morning.